Best cheese for grilled cheese. I usually just get American. Added Chris the Death Burns, probably. All right. Um. Uh, there's no probably about that. All right, 3 people watching now. Do I want to start now or do I want to wait for more people? Mm. Oh, holy shit, 6 watching now. Okay. How do you pick out the right style sunglasses when you decide to buy a pair? I go to a place like Sunglass Hut or a place like that, and I try to find one with this general kind of shape or design. You know, these are actual Ray-Bans, but I scratched the logo off with a little with a coin. All right, so. Hey guys, RanterInShades here. Exercise my first time right stream style. Apologies in advance if I sound at all sick. I'm getting over a little cold. I'm in a bit of the gestation period, where my nose is a bit stuffy, runny, and I'm coughing every so often. Like that. But usually how these things go, this is usually like the final phase of it before I'm done. I haven't been waking up with my throat feeling sore the last day or two, so that's good. And I didn't think I would have time to do a stream today. I thought I was going to be a lot busier today, but the thing I was planning on doing today ended up canceling, so I'm like, cool, I can do this now at a more optimal time. I don't have to wait until next week because of the other plans I have for the rest of the week. So, I feel like I have a bit of an obligation to speak about at least the first thing in here. Since I'm somebody that has a recurring gag of referring to Dave Grohl as Jesus or the Jesus of rock and roll. And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about this thing that came out about him the other day, like out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anything prompted this, at least from my perspective. Nothing prompted this. And yes, I am intentionally being cheeky and wearing my Foo Fighters shirt for this. So, if you somehow do not know, I think... Hold on, who's texting me now? Yeah, screw it, I'll text later. If you somehow do not know, the other day, Dave Grohl decided to post on Instagram that he had given birth to a daughter outside of his marriage. And he was going to be raising this child and trying to, work to earn his family's forgiveness. So obviously we know what this means. When I first heard about it, I was like, what? Really? Like, I wasn't really sure if this was legit. But then I started seeing more and more about it, and memes, of course. And I mulled it over the course of yesterday. I was going to a concert yesterday, so that's why I couldn't talk about this yesterday because I was doing something yesterday. But I was mulling this over, and originally I was like, another thing that sort of prompted me to want to talk about this in a stream is because I was trying to leave a comment on the video that ARTV made about this, basically saying what I'm going to be saying in here, but YouTube kept auto-removing the comment, and I think I know why, and you probably have a good guess as to why too. And I then decided I was going to make a community post about it that will go up yesterday, but then I started worrying, what if YouTube decides to flag that and I get a strike that prevents me from posting the video that I'm working on that is going to be coming out next week. So I decided this may be a more casual way to talk about this. Again, since I'm somebody that has a recurring gag of referring to him as Jesus, it's mostly said in jest. I felt, that who better than me to explain my thought process about this. So, where was I thinking of beginning with this? So, a big thing that people were, wondering is, does this mean that Dave Grohl is no longer Jesus? Do I have to, retire that gag? Because, this is one of the, oldest gags on my channel. Like, that and Mario saying no are, the two primordial ancient, memes that I have on here. But honestly, while the Jesus thing was mostly said in jest, there was a significant part of me that genuinely believed it. The big reason why people are up in arms about this is pretty much just because it's Dave Grohl, not really anything else. A number of people are saying, well, he's a rock star, what do you expect? And that's not really the route I'm going to be taking with this, because I just find that to be a bit of a cop-out. But, fuck, what was my train of thought? I've been blocked from commenting on ARTV's videos because I spammed too much during one of his streams years ago. Aw, that sucks. That sucks, dude. I'm sorry. Do you know what it was that got you blocked? Anyway. Fuck. What was my train of thought? Oh, yeah. It also has largely to do with the reputation that Dave Grohl has of being, the nicest person in music and whatnot. And hearing about something like this just catches people off guard and whatnot, because it's just very out of left field, not really something you would expect to hear about someone like him doing. Now, do I condone what he did? Obviously not. I'm not going to try to, rationalize that or anything like that. But what I think about this is, to answer the question that I asked a little bit ago of, does this mean that Dave Grohl is no longer Jesus and that I need to stop doing that gag? I don't think so. I don't think that that's what this really calls for. And the reason why I think that is because while I don't condone what he did, I don't believe that it undoes or goes against or takes away from all the good that he has done throughout his career. Because here's where the Jesus thing comes from. This is where the Jesus thing comes from. It all started back in 2014 when Gene Simmons was doing the whole Rock is Dead thing. Dave Grohl was one of the first people back then that I saw, standing up and being like, not so fast. And that, along with a bunch of other cool and wholesome stories that I've heard about him, is what really sort of created that thing that's become a gag, not just on my channel, but in my real life as well. Stuff like him showing up in the pit at a Soundgarden show and, advocating for bands to, just play together in like this tangent he went on about why he doesn't like American Idol, and just, standing up for the little guy and being an advocate for rock, an ambassador for rock, and just overall just a force for good in music. I don't believe that that has to change now, that is no longer the case just because of this. It doesn't mean that we can't criticize him for what he did, because, again, as much as there's the Jesus thing, obviously that doesn't mean that I think that he's above criticism or anything like that, or that nobody can say anything negative about him. I may respond jokingly saying, you're going to hell, you heathen, whenever I see, something like that. Again, that's said in jest. Obviously, I don't believe that, he's an omnipotent God that nobody can criticize or anything like that. But I don't believe that this means that he's no longer, the nice and fun guy that we all love. You know what I mean? I get why people are mad, but I don't think his career should be over this. Also, I don't see why it had to be a public issue and not personal. That's another thing, actually. Another reason why I think the Jesus side of him, if it, as it were, like, still exists, is because, while it may have taken this woman giving birth to push him in the direction of doing this, he could have just swept it under the rug and lied about it and kept it a secret for years and years. But he didn't do that. He chose to accept responsibility and be open about it, and actually, raise that child, as his own. That's not something I think a lot of people in his position would have done. Because, when we think about other celebrities and whatnot that have been, put on blast and given the cancel treatment, usually the way they respond to it is by, sweeping it under the rug and just moving on, which, to be fair, sometimes that may be the only conceivable thing you really can do. But it continues to haunt you. It follows you for a long time. And obviously there will be people that aren't going to forget it. But rather than, take that approach, Dave decided to say, hey, I did this. I'm sorry that I did this. I'm going to try to work to earn forgiveness, and I'm going to accept responsibility because that's the right thing to do and whatnot. And that's another reason why I genuinely do think that he is still a good person at heart, is because he took that approach. I just ended up making too many comments. Okay. Honestly, Dave just made an honest mistake. Is what he did wrong? Absolutely, but it's not a career ender. It's not going to be a career ender. I don't think it is. people are people still going to remember this? Yeah, but I don't think it's really going to be a major detriment to really anything. You know, all it really means is that he has another child, and that's it. The Dave Grohl stuff is the reason why I don't worship band guys. People tend to forget you don't actually know these people. Yeah, I mean, he is a personal hero of mine because, again, I just see him as being a force for good in music. But again, it's mostly a joke, the Jesus thing. But, god damn it. Ah. Yeah, that's basically how I'm feeling about this. I also see this as something that's probably going to simmer down sooner than you think. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much the reason why, I'm not going to be retiring the Jesus gag. And I don't think I need to stop referring to him as such, even if it is mostly in jest. Keep in mind, he could have easily gone the route of paying off the mother and waiving responsibility for the child, something many others likely would have done in the same position. Exactly, that's what I was getting at. He could have, made this, he could have gotten legal team involved, for the sake of keeping this whole thing on the hush-hush. But he's not doing that because that's just not the kind of person he is. So, yeah, while I was pretty shocked hearing about this, really bummed out for, the whole, rest of the evening when I heard about this. I was in a call with some people, and I was being messaged about this, and I was just, sitting in silence for a good, 10 minutes over this. I was pretty bummed out, but, this is just, the optimistic approach that I choose to take about this and my assessment of the matter. I'm obviously not going to condone the act of cheating or anything like that, but that's, in a nutshell, how I feel about this. Was there anything else that I wanted to say about this? Don't think so, other than just, praise Jesus. I'm guessing either Dave's now ex-wife or baby mama threatened something legal if he didn't go public, so that's a possibility on why it's a public matter. Wait, did his wife divorce him over this? I didn't hear anything about that. The last thing I did hear was that his daughters closed their social media, presumably because they just didn't want to be bothered about this. They just didn't want to, they have enough to deal with already about this. I feel like that's the reason. That's the last thing I heard. I didn't hear anything about any divorce going on. If that's what happened, then yeah, sucks that it had to come to that. But yeah, I feel like, just being open was pretty much the best course of action that didn't involve any really, involving anything really sneaky or underhanded or anything like that. So that's why I can't really, find any fault in him, making it a public thing. And you have every right to be optimistic. Thank you. Like I said, you can't count on anyone, especially. This isn't the time to be syndrome. I'm sorry. This isn't the time to be syndrome. This isn't. I don't think this is this is the kind of situation that really calls for a syndrome outlook. I love Syndrome, but I don't think this is the time. But yeah, I think that's all there really is to say about this. And I figured, while we're talking about sad things, yes, there goes my hero. Stop being cringe. I figure while we're talking about depressing things in music, we can talk about something else depressing that is way more controversial. Why not? So, Linkin Park. We all know Linkin Park. So, to catch everybody up on this, and before I start with this, I'm just going to say that with this, I'm going to be speaking from the perspective of somebody who is very casual with Linkin Park. Like, I'm not the hugest fan of Linkin Park. Like, I like them. Like, Hybrid Theory and Meteora, both great albums. I like about half of Minutes to Midnight, and I think Hunting Party is good. I'm very casual with Linkin Park. I'm not as, like, diehard and devoted as a lot of Linkin Park fans are. I recognize their importance, though. Like, Hybrid Theory was, like, in my opinion, one of the definitive, like, albums of the early 2000s. And I recognize that importance, but I'm not speaking from the perspective of someone who is really, really big into Linkin Park. So to catch everybody up to speed on this, so for the past, how many years has it been now? 18, 19, 20? For the past 7 years, since Chester Bennington, took his life on his friend Chris Cornell's birthday, we were under the impression that Linkin Park was pretty much done. Like, I don't think anybody was really wanting any, like, Linkin Park activity without Chester and whatnot. Like, obviously everybody else can do their own thing. I think Mike Shinoda has a solo thing, and, he could bring back Fort Minor if he wanted to. But I think, what was it, like 2 weeks ago now, when there was this live stream thing going on their channel, this countdown timer that then started counting up. It was weird. Everybody was under the impression that we were being trolled or anything like that. And as far as trolling efforts go, I've seen better, I guess. But then it was announced through another live stream that was live streaming a, I think, private show going on. They announced that they have a new album coming out in November, a short arena tour going on around the time as well. If the closest date over here where I'm at is at Barclays Center, which is in Brooklyn, and I'm not too sure I would want to make a trip out there. That's actually the venue where I saw my very first New York concert, Rush, back in 2012. And that's also where I saw Judas Priest in 2014, where I was, like, very deathly late to Steel Panther's set who are opening. I was pissed at that. I'm not sure I want to go back there. But what was also announced that they have a new drummer now and a new lead vocalist. This lead vocalist is Emily Armstrong of the band Dead Sarah. If you don't know Dead Sarah, they're a pretty good hard rock band. I got into them back in 2019 when I heard their song Weatherman on the PA when I was seeing Alter Bridge at the time. And I thought, hey, this sounds pretty cool. Who is this band? And so I Shazammed it. And then one of the first things I did when I got home from that show, this was the show that I got a VIP ticket for Alter Bridge at. One of the first things I did when I got home was, scope out Dead Sarah. And yeah, I think they're a solid hard rock band. And my reaction when I heard that she was going to be singing in Linkin Park, my first reaction was like, okay, that's an interesting choice. Don't think I would have expected this. Don't think I would have expected, them to go with a woman fronting the band, let alone someone like Emily Armstrong from a band that I'm not sure as many people have heard of before. Like, I'm curious if any of you guys have heard of Dead Sarah before this. Um, One More Light is overhated. I'm pretty casual to most bands too, especially Linkin Park. Also, I probably like Minutes to Midnight more than most people, probably because that was my first LP CD. I got into Linkin Park like around the time of that album, actually. I think they were teasing Linkin Park reunion since Chester's death. They also never said they broke up officially. Yeah, that's true too. I guess that was always sort of up in the air. Like, no one really knew for sure what was going to be happening with Linkin Park as a band. They were performing yesterday in my neck of the woods. Wow, cool. Inglewood, LA. If you don't know, ad interruption. Damn it. Off topic, but speaking of Alter Bridge, did you get to see the Creed reunion? I don't really like Creed, so no. Anyway, continuing on. So that was my reaction when finding out that Emily was going to be singing with the band. She's got a pretty okay voice, very Lizzie Hale-ish. The name Emily Armstrong sounds familiar, but never knew Dead Sarah. Give them a listen. I'm sure you'll find something about them you'll dig. Like I said, they're pretty solid. But pretty much a little bit after hearing about this new lead vocalist, a couple things started coming to light. Two things. The first thing being the fact that she is a Scientologist, which I did not know that prior, nor did I know that she was present at the trial for Danny Masterson, who, if you don't know him, he played Hyde on That 70s Show, and he was convicted of rape. I don't remember the specific details. The only thing I really remember about that situation was when his That 70s Show co-stars, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, wrote in some character witness testimony letters. And then when they got put on blast for it, they made this video where they retracted it, and it was really awkward. And I felt bad hearing about that because I love Mila Kunis, and I enjoy Ashton Kutcher on That 70s Show. I haven't really been watching That 70s Show for very long, but I really like it. And it's unfortunate. You know, that's like all I really think about that. I think I may have heard you mention Dead Sarah once before, either in a previous video of yours or one of our VCs on Discord, possibly. To be fair, Orgy's lead singer kind of spoiled the fact that they had a female singer. Oh, really? Huh. So, anyway, these two things came to light about Emily, and needless to say, it was not a particularly good look. Emily has since apologized about being present at, the Danny Masterson trial. And also, to be fair, I don't really know what the extent of their relationship was. I don't know how close they really were. All we really know, just based on what I saw in the apology that I have open in a tab over here just so I can see what was exactly said. So she said, "Hi, I'm Emily. I'm new to so many of you, and I wanted to clear the air about something that happened a while back. Several years ago, I was asked to support someone I considered a friend at a court appearance and went to one early hearing as an observer. Soon after, I realized I shouldn't have. I always tried to see the good in people, and I misjudged him. I have never spoken with him since. Unimaginable details emerged, and he was later found guilty. To say it as clearly as possible, I do not condone abuse or violence against women, and I empathize with the victims of these crimes." And, when I saw that she did that, I was like, okay, at least she said something about it. And again, I'm not really sure the extent of, her friendship with Masterson, other than the fact that they are both part of the Church of Scientology, and I believe that is like the main crux in why she was asked to be present at that trial was so that she can, stand with one of her own, so to speak. Now, people obviously are obviously saying, like, including, I meant to mention this, like, one thing I also remember happening was Cedric from Mars Volta, like, being really visceral in the comments about the announcement, talking about the Masterson stuff. I think the Scientology stuff as well, but definitely the Masterson stuff. And after, she apologized about the Masterson side of things, people started, saying, well, what about the Scientology thing? And here's the reason why I don't think she has said anything about this, and I don't think she will. It's because I don't think she really can. Because if we know anything about the Church of Scientology, they are obviously, like, they are crazy fucking people. Like, you don't need me to tell you. They are some ridiculous fucking people. But they go after, like, anybody of status that says anything about them. They will just be really cutthroat with you. They will do everything to make your life a living hell. They'll even go as far as to just get your family to disassociate with you. It is ridiculous what they do. Like, I'm sure we all remember what happened with South Park when they made their Scientology episode. Like, they went ballistic about the episode. I forget if this was related or not. I think there was a lawsuit about that as well, about getting the episode pulled. I forget if it was Tom Cruise himself or if it was his legal team that was trying to get the episode pulled because they didn't want it to interfere with the Mission Impossible movie that was coming out at the time. But bottom line, that's how whack the Church of Scientology is whenever you say anything about them. And Emily, I'm sure, knows this, as somebody that was born into the Church of Scientology. So I actually remember seeing in a comment on one of the videos I watched about this that she's actually gay, which is something that's frowned on in the Church of Scientology. So that gives me some reason to speculate that she isn't as close-knit with the Church of Scientology, but she still can't, like, up and leave, let alone speak out against them, because she knows the kinds of things that happen when people that do that. Like, it is a really tough situation to be in, and that's why I feel really sorry for her, because maybe she wants to talk about Scientology, but again, she isn't in a position where she can. Because, it's not just protecting her, but also protecting her loved ones. Like, is it selfish? Maybe. But, they don't make it easy, I honestly think people only brought all this stuff up because they want reasons to hate her besides the fact that she's replacing Chester. I'm sure people felt the same way towards Alice in Chains in 2005. That is true. Yeah. Like, I think I've noticed a lot over the years is people seem to want to kind of search for a negative about a situation. It's kind of like how when somebody dies and people are mourning their death, there's always going to be somebody that brings up, like, oh, did you know this? Like, I remember the example of this that's coming to mind is when Chuck Berry died. While people were mourning his death, there was also, people, one of which being a certain former favorite YouTuber of mine, saying, oh, he raped minors or something. I forget how old they were, but, oh, he abused people. And it's like, dude, he just died. There's a time and a place to talk about this, and it's not now. But yeah, it could also be related to how they want a reason to be not happy when they have a new lead vocalist. And bringing up Alice in Chains, that's a good point of comparison. I don't know if Lane, Hair Metal Brony, I don't know if you're still listening at all, but I'm sure you have a good bit that you would like to say, since Alice in Chains is your favorite band, and the person of which you're named after. I actually recently came around on the William Duvall albums. I was resistant to it for a long time, and I decided to give them a listen, and yeah, it's good stuff. It's not better than the original stuff, but it's still solid in my opinion. Ex-Scientologists are trying to convince fans that Linkin Park are complacent in Emily's Scientology, and as a result complacent in S.A., Grape, nice save, etc. Is it ex-Scientologists, or is it just just really cynical people? Because I'm not sure how much Shinoda and the rest of the band are aware of this. If they are, they probably don't think it's a big deal. But I think calling it harboring or being complacent, I think is going a step too far with that. Tom Cruise tried suing South Park because they oh yeah, right. Yeah, they didn't want that interfering with the Mission Impossible movie that was coming out. And they of course, they of course referenced that in the 200 and 201 episodes. Well, Alex, that may be true, but the band not talking about it raises a bunch of red flags. Again, I think that has to do with the fact that they don't want these crazy people, these crazy shitheads just, coming after them, because they know what they do. They remember what happened with South Park and other people that have, spoken out against them, and they, as bad of a look as it is necessary for keeping their career intact. That's like the best way I can rationalize that. Gonna be stealing a comment. I bet the same people who said, "What would Chester think?" are the same people who called him a sellout when Linkin Park released One More Light. I mean, two things can be true at once. What about oh yeah, Chester's son. That was another thing. His son, he was pissed about that. He just, went foaming from the mouth at Mike Shinoda, and understandably so. I mean, even if I think he could have been a little more chill, I'd be lying if I were to say it wasn't understandable where he's coming from, because this is his father here. Sorry, I was distracted by stuff on Discord. What was that you were saying I could tell about Alice in Chains? I heard the part about you recently listening to the William Duvall albums. I was thinking maybe you could, bring a little perspective of, I guess, the reaction to William Duvall joining the band, There's SA and all that stuff in all religions. I think if you can't support Emily Armstrong, Linkin Park because of that, you support Slayer because Tom is Christian, and many, many other examples. Like, I tend to not really care about these kinds of religious aspects. Most people, like, when it comes to people, following a religion, I believe everybody has their reason for why they follow it, and their own different, aspects about it that they believe in, that they identify with. I don't believe that just because somebody's a Christian, it means that they condone this or that. It could just mean, something completely different. I'm guessing Chester's son and Shinoda had a disagreement over something, and he's still bitter about it and wanted to use the opportunity. I don't think he likes that a reunion is going on and whatnot. I think he just really wanted the band to be put to rest, as did most people, including myself, like, even if One More Light was a pretty whimper note to go out on, how I felt ever since, 2017, ever since Chester's death, was if this has to be, the last album, then okay, fine. Just as long as it's the last, you know what I mean? Um, Going back to the Dave stuff, let's be honest. What Dave did is scummy and should be looked at as bad. But considering all the other things that other musicians and public figures have done, this is nothing in comparison. That's true. But, what I essentially said back in that portion of the stream was that I don't believe that this means that, all the good that he has done throughout his career, both with Foo Fighters and, outside of Foo Fighters, needs to be, like, undone or erased or anything like that. Okay, I understand why Chester's son was pissed. I'm personally not religious, but I understand religion and why it could be a good thing for people. Exactly. Like, for some people, it is, a comfort for them. It helps them. It gets them by and whatnot. Like, I always think of my friend Thrash Metal Guru when he became a Christian again. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what it was that pushed him in that direction, but it helped him, and it made him it made him a happier person. It helped him feel more fulfilled in his life. And for a lot of people, I believe, religion, serves that purpose for people. That's why I'm not really one to fault people for being religious unless they're using it to be, belittle people and be dicks to people. Not even mentioning, a lot of musicians cheat on their wives behind the scenes, even if they have kids and the girls are the same age or younger than the kids. Yeesh. But anyway, getting back on track. Anyway, the reason why I don't think that Emily is going to be, saying anything about the Church of Scientology and, where she stands with them is largely because of she just doesn't want to get, like, hunted down by them. And it's understandable. Does it mean that I agree with that? Not really. But that's why I believe, it's where it's at. I'm not sure I believe that the rest of Linkin Park are complacent about it. I think that's going a step too far because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of them have said anything about either the Masterson stuff or the Scientology stuff. The most that I do know happened was that Brad Delson, their guitarist, announced that he wasn't going to be participating in the tour. I don't know if it's because of this or if it's for something else. It was weirdly timed, but that's the most we really know about, where Linkin Park themselves are at. Really, though, at the end of it all, I feel like this is something that I don't think needed to happen. Like, again, I was perfectly content with One More Light being the last thing that Linkin Park did as a band. It's One More Light is not really is not an album I like. If people like it, that's cool. I know that there are a lot of people that identify with a lot of the songs, and I'm not here to take away from that. But again, if that ended up being the last album of theirs, the most I would have felt would be like, okay, it's at least better than, something strenuous, I guess, happening. Now, as far as the new Linkin Park album goes, uh, I'm not sure it's something that I'm wanting to listen to. It's not because of Emily specifically. It's mostly because I'm very particular with the kinds of Linkin Park stuff that I am into. As I said earlier, it's really just first two albums, Half a Minutes to Midnight, Hunted Party, and that's about it. And I'm kind of wanting to leave it at that. Um, uh, if the album ends up being like, really good and a lot of people like it, then, I'm glad for that. Really, I am. But as for me, it may just be something that I set out. And, and even if I really wanted to go to make the trip to Brooklyn for that show, for that reunion show, is it just wouldn't be the same. I'm just not sure it's something I would feel particularly comfortable doing. Again, it's not so much because of Emily as a person, and more so just because Chester was like the face of the band. So many of Linkin Park's songs came from a very personal place on his part, and it just doesn't feel right. That's basically where I'm at with that. You know, I feel similarly about a number of other bands who have lost a very prominent member and whatnot. Like, I have a whole list of bands that I'm very, like, on the fence, like, if I would really want to see them live with that in mind. Left to Make Coffee, what's happening now? Just finishing up the Linkin Park stuff. I think someone like Ollie Sykes or even Derek from Sum 41 would have been a better choice, but I get LP didn't want another Chester. I even remember seeing in a Nick Nocturnal video, he was even speculating that Tyler Joseph from 21 Pilots might be singing with them just because, they did stuff together, and you'd be surprised the pipes that he has. Like, the stuff I talked about from 21 Pilots and Best Songs of 2016 gives you a small taste of that, but you'd be surprised. But, yeah, that would have been interesting, but again, I'm just not sure it's something anyone really wanted. Despite Alice in Chains being my fave, I can't say too much personally, but what I can say about fan reactions to Will joining the band is that I've heard about all of the No Lane, No Chains bullshit. Yeah. What album is currently in the running for your album of the year? That would be Bayside's album this year. The album Belmont released this year. That I listened to on the short-lived New Music Saturday streams. That one also really just got shot up there, and I'm like, wow, okay. You can't freak out about Scientologist artists, but stay quiet when Christian artists or Muslim ones IMO. I feel like the main difference with Scientology is that that's like a legitimate cult. Like, I would say that there are more violent Christians and definitely more violent Muslims, but Scientology, I would say, is more of a very domineering cult that is very good at utilizing intimidation tactics. That's understandable. Me personally, I'm still going to listen to Linkin Park because I grew up listening to them, and I want to see where this album goes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I still like Linkin Park, and, you're free to listen to the album if you're curious about it or you just want to see what you think about it. And I'm not here to, say that that is a bad thing or anything like that. About the music itself, I think it's too soon to tell with Emily era. We should wait until the record's out or even wait another couple years. Like, people will have their initial reactions about it, just like people did with the new song that was debuted. But yeah, I do agree that, it should be allowed to, sit with everybody for a bit. Yes, Pantera is another good example of this. That is a great example. Because honestly, like, I'm not against the idea of Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown doing something together. The way I feel about that is that it should be at the very least called something different than Pantera, because yeah, Diamond Vinny were the heart and soul of Pantera. Like, they were the ones that started the band. And back when they were making the 80s Glamterra albums, their dad produced those albums and was like a mentor for the band. So much of what made Pantera who they are was rooted in Diamond Vinny. After A Thousand Suns, Linkin Park wasn't that same band for me personally anymore, being one of my favorite bands, but I still enjoyed their first three albums and was crushed when Chester died. Yeah, it was really sad when Chester died. One thing actually I remember seeing, a friend of mine from college posted on Instagram at the time that when he was like 6 years old, he and his family met Chester at an airport right when Hybrid Theory was about to release. And reading that story of his, I was like, holy fuck. And yeah, his death really did, shake a lot of people to their core. People gave a lot of different kinds of reactions. I remember Head from Korn didn't give a particularly great reaction, but I remember my friend Beakman's Void, formerly Mortified Productions, I remember he made a video at the time saying that Head was coming from like a place of hurt when it came to, processing Chester's death. But anyway, yeah, Thousand Suns, Living Things, not really my thing. Hunting Party I like mainly because, hey, it's heavy Linkin Park. But that's about it. The new Porter Robinson is my current favorite album of the year so far, followed by the Bring Me the Horizon album. The Bring Me the Horizon one was not what I was expecting. That one is solid. It's just not what I was expecting from them. Like, I'm not going to take out my torch and pitchfork just because you don't like Linkin Park's new album. I never said for sure that I don't like it, just that I was going to be sitting it out. I'm against the idea of them making new music under Pantera, but playing the classics with two people that were close to the band under the Pantera name, I understand. Yeah, that is true, because I remember there was talk for years about the idea of Zakk Wylde playing with Pantera and whatnot, like as far back as like 2012, I want to say. And Charlie Benante, I know, was close with them as well. When I heard the news that he passed away, I was actually getting ready to watch them live at the Sunset Strip Festival in LA. Wow. And again, the thing that was like really cryptic about that was that it was on Chris Cornell's birthday. And Chester and Chris Cornell were very good friends, and it almost seemed planned, like he didn't want to live in a world without his friend. Bands changing their sound and style doesn't bother me as much as it did late teens, early 20s. I'm too old to be as passionate as I was back then. Well, that's fair. That's always been sort of my main issue with both Linkin Park and Bring Me the Horizon, was the different sound changes. Some, I think, work better than others. God, I can barely breathe through my nose. So I guess that's all I have to say about the Linkin Park situation. You know, I'm willing to give Emily some benefit of the doubt, and and I'm open to the idea of the new album being something that the fans really like. Um, I still think about the last video of Chester before he passed getting disgusted by a rotten egg flavored jelly bean. Huh. That's kind of. Oh, yeah, I remember hearing rumors about a Pantera reunion when Vinny was still alive, and he would always shut it down quickly. Yeah. Uh, I feel like deep down Vinny wanted it to happen, but it would remind him too much of Dime, and he wanted all of his focus on Hell Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess Hell Yeah was the band that he was more into making music with, making new music with, at least. Uh, it was, and it was new, it was fresh, it was another outlet for him that was like completely separate from not just Pantera, but also Damage Plan uh, and anything else that they did together. Um, Dave Grohl is pretty much the main ambassador for rock and roll. That's why it's a little disappointing. Yeah, that's pretty much what I said earlier. That's a big reason why people were freaking out about it, was mainly just because of that. But as I said back in that portion of the stream, I don't believe that this means that that ambassador status needs to be, stripped from him. I still think that he is that person. Um, I know Dime privately said he was planning on bringing Pantera back after the second Damage Plan album, but of course that didn't happen. Uh huh. That would have been interesting, a second Damage Plan album. Huh. Is there anything else I wanted to say? Eddie Trunk got triggered again when Kendrick Lamar was announced for the. First of all, I had no idea that Kendrick was announced for the Super Bowl. That's honestly really cool. Um, if nothing else, than just a punch to the dick to Drake. But honestly, ever since the whole business with the backing track thing, I stopped really taking Eddie Trunk seriously. Like, all he really is to me is just somebody who is too much of an 80s purist. I feel like if Pantera never broke up, they would have went nu metal. Damage Plan was more nu metal than Pantera. It was more in line with, with what metal was at the time than Pantera was. Kendrick is going places after he wrecked Drake. That's kind of that's kind of insane. Like, I do plan on talking about this in the year-end videos, because I do think that Not Like Us is going to be on the year-end chart. If it isn't, I'm going to be fucking mad. um, but yeah, like, Kendrick was always like a very like highly respected guy in the industry, but But yeah, this whole Drake beef really just shot him, back to like a real spotlight. Um, Eddie Trunk is just mad it's not Iron Maiden. Yeah, among other bands. Wait, Eddie Trunk, is there any audio footage so I can laugh at it? Um, I'm sure if you search on Google, there's probably an article about it that'll redirect to it. Any plans of a Crybabies of Rock on Eddie Trunk? Uh, it would depend on if something else comes out. See, the thing with Crybabies of Rock is, like, I'm open to the potential for a Crybabies of Rock video, but I haven't been as motivated to make one of those videos, mainly because, I don't know, I've just never really been wanting to make very negative videos, if you know what I mean. Um, hey, I had to go to the bathroom. Anything I missed? We segued into talking about Pantera because of the subject of members being replaced for a reunion and people not liking it. I heard Not Like Us in the clubs like as soon as it came out. Oh, yeah. It's really wild that that song is like a legitimate like mainstream hit, like a chart topping hit, and it involves it involves calling Drake a diddler. And it's like, man. But yeah, I can't wait to talk about that in Best Songs. I'll say that much. I do want to see Foo Fighters play the Super Bowl. That's the main rock band I can think of to have play it at this point. That is true too. I remember even people bringing that up in the comments on that Maroon 5 Super Bowl video that I did back in 2019. I remember, there were people saying that Foo Fighters should play it. There were also people saying State Champs because I was wearing my State Champs shirt in the video. Both of those I would be very much on board with. Hi, Disco.Candolph. How are you today? But yeah, I guess now we segued into talking a little about Kendrick. But yeah, I'm wanting to save any further discussion about Not Like Us, for the year-end videos. So, I know Metallica has been asked to play the Super Bowl, but denied it. Probably because they don't like the idea of shortening their set and whatnot. I can't imagine. It's hard to imagine what a little medley of songs would be like from a band like Metallica. And Chelsea, I'm wearing the shirt that you gave me. I think Corey Feldman should play the Super Bowl. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think 24 has been a great year for pop music so far. From what I've been hearing, definitely. Like, this is looking to be one of those years where it's looking to be one of those years where I'm like, am I even going to have material for worst songs? Because I've just been hearing so much good stuff. Like, I already know what my number one's going to be, and I know what my number two is going to be. So I'm having one of those sorts of existential kind of things. And this isn't the first time I've ever felt like this. There have been a number of years where I'm like, man, I'm just not hearing a lot that I want to talk about in worst songs. But, I'm usually able to pull it together, and those videos end up coming out. So, yeah. So how does it feel knowing Dave Grohl is no longer the Jesus you thought he was? The Cliff Note version of what I talked about with that is, while I do not condone what he did, I don't believe it detracts or takes away or undoes all of the good that he did throughout his career. Because, at his core, I believe that he is the same, you know, nice and fun guy that he always was. And also the fact that he is being open and honest rather than trying to sweep it under the rug says a lot about, says just as much, in my opinion, about, his true character. So that's why I don't think that I need to retire the Jesus gag. And I think that he can still be Jesus. So that's like the cliff note of that. Metallica has too many long songs. That's true too. Like, here's an experiment. I'm going to create a smart playlist. Artist is Metallica. View as songs. And I'm going to order it by time. Of the short songs, there are only 9 songs of theirs in here that are under 5 minutes. The shortest being Motor Breath. Then Hardwired, Trapped Under Ice, Whiplash, Anesthesia Pulling Teeth, Hit the Lights, Escape, Jump in the Fire, and Fight Fire with Fire. Those are the only songs of Metallica's that I have that I have in my library that are under 5 minutes. So that's another reason why I just have a hard time imagining a Metallica Super Bowl performance working. Same missed the first hour, but wow, Dave Grohl. Ew, Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman is a national treasure. They have tendencies to overwrite. That's why their albums are long. Yeah. I think Dongcopter Pirate should have played the 2014 Olympics. Don't know who that is. Sabrina Carpenter, Chapel Roan, Charlie XCX, Shabuzi, Kendrick, etc. I'm not really big on Charlie XCX. I haven't really heard... I don't think I've ever listened to Chapel Roan. Sabrina Carpenter, from what I've heard, sounds decent. The Shabuzi thing, yeah, again, sounds decent. I'm not sure how much I'm wanting to talk about them in best songs because I pretty much have all 10 slots in my notes for best songs filled. That's the thing about that's really kind of blowing my mind about pop music this year. I watched vids on Corey. He's so creepy. He's a very good musician. You just don't understand. I do need to purchase my whole shirt. I want to know when's the Lost Prophets reunion tour. I think from what I remember, they rebranded to a different project. I forgot what it's called, though. At least he's being mature about it. Exactly. Shortest is Motor Breath. Yes, thank you. Lux Eterna is also short, too. Heard of Sabrina. I like her. Used to be a fan of Charlie XCX during the True Romance and Sucker eras. My unpopular opinion is that I think that Charlie XCX is really overhyped. Not my thing, unfortunately. You gotta include Ka-Ira by Gojira. That wouldn't be a bad thing to make mention of. Because, yeah. What's your opinion on the drama going on with Mike Hawk from X Doing Yo Ma? He did nothing wrong. Have you heard of Brat Summer by Charlie XCX? It's so dumb. It's all over social media because girls keep spreading the memes. The only thing I know about that is what the album cover looks like. Um, that's like, but I pretty much just tuned all that out. If I didn't say it already, colds are annoying. I've yet to listen to Brat Summer out of curiosity. Um, Also, Lost Prophets broke up and started No Devotion with the singer of Thursday. Okay. Then all the members left, and they're nowhere near as popular as Prophets ever were. And plus, I guess the guy just wanted to, put more focus on Thursday. Uh, Thursday opened at the My Chemical Romance reunion show that I went to. Um, Glad I'm not in on Charlie XCX memes. All it is just a green square with a word written in white. That's all it is. It's like, yeah, cool memes you got there. So now, since I haven't done this in a while, Stu from Lost Prophets actually plays with. Oh, cool, good for him. He actually plays with Thursday now. Since I haven't done this in a while, and I just have a bunch, written in my notes. I haven't talked about shows I went to in like about a year. It's kind of crazy. I have a lot to catch everybody up on with that. Because the first thing I have in my shirt pile over here is from last October. And let me get this open. This would be The Darkness. I mentioned this show in part one of the Stupidest Metalist saga, but they were uh, it was the 20-year anniversary of Permission to Land, their debut, and they played that in full. They only played from that album. It was really fun. This on the back with a Permission to Land. Yep. Um, the front actually says Permission to Land again. Um, and I remember back when I had my job, whenever this shirt would be in my rotation, I was like, I hope nobody says anything about this because, yeah, there's kind of a naked chick on there. Um, Brat Summer isn't an album. It's a trend based on the marketing of the album. It's a bunch of memes. Um, Last show I went to was out. I went to that too, Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. We will get to that later. So next on here, from like later in October, Knocked Loose. They were on tour. They were on tour with Motionless in White, After the Burial, and Alpha Wolf. I missed most of Alpha Wolf's set, and I was like in line for merch for most of After the Burial set. That was like my third time seeing them. Uh, and here's what was crazy about this: the line for Knocked Loose's merch and Motionless in White's merch. The venue this was at MGM Music Hall at Fenway, and the line for merch was so long it was going up to the roof of the place. That's how friggin' stacked this was. And the other thing that I always remember about this was during Knocked Loose's set, was like I knew going in that the whole place was going to be the pit at some point. I just had to sort of try my best to avoid it because I know how violent, how hectic their pits get. But, eventually it caught up to me. And what ended up happening was that the pit was so crazy that I ended up stepping out of both of my shoes. That's how intense that pit was. On the back, we got I was visited by death again. Um, open upon I was visited by death again upon loss. I had to just make sure I was reading that. Then we move on to November, where one band I saw was the Omnific. If you don't know the Omnific, they come highly recommended. They're an instrumental prog band made up of two basses and a drummer. It's just all bass. And tour dates on the back. They were opening for Nabla Viscaris, one of a number of bands I have cover Killer Nation to thank for getting me into. Originally, Persephone was actually going to be opening, but they pulled out, and I was bummed out about that. But then immediately lit up when I saw that the Omnific were replacing them, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" But yeah, Naval Viscaris. We got the Exul artwork on here, and tour dates on the back. Linkin Park is my life. That is good for you. Um, Then we get something that I went to while I was working on year-end stuff. Yes, Omnific were opening for Naval Viscaris. I saw them both last year. Fantastic, awesome. Yes, that was a really great show. The show I went to after that in December, like while I was working on year-end stuff, was Tiny Moving Parts. They're a emo math rock band. I consider them prog because their approach to riffs and melodies is very proggy. Their guitarist is just really wild, and this shirt design is really funny because it's a dog playing a guitar, playing a flying V with a bone for the headstock. Is that awesome or what? And then tour dates on the back. Yeah. Parking for that was not fun because it was a Somerville show. Math Rauk. Then we get to my first show of this year, and opening at this show was Earthside. My second time seeing them since 2022, where I met them both after the show. I talked with them again, and they remembered me from the last show. It was really cool seeing them again. I like this design also a lot better than the other one. Some nice little orange leaves. And the band they were opening for was Caligula's Horse, a band that I got into through through Atticus. Like back in 2020 when what was the album they had there? When they had Rise Radiant out, he just showed me the album, and I was like, "Oh, sick, prog metal. Let me at it." And they put out a new album, their newest album at the beginning of this year, Charcoal Grace, which this is depicting. Tour dates, of course, also on the back. This was also a cool show. Then we got a show I went to in New York because they weren't coming through here, and I really wanted to see this band because they were doing a farewell tour. And who would this band be? Mr. Big. One of the few glam metal bands that have most of their original lineup that I haven't seen. And I definitely really wanted to at some point because Paul Gilbert and Billy Sheehan are like two of my favorite musicians. Billy Sheehan is one of my favorite bassists. Paul Gilbert is a excellent virtuoso guitarist. And Mr. Big was a super group that was, well, super and whatnot. Like one of my favorite super groups of all time. And they were also playing they were also playing Lean Into It in its entirety, which was also great because that's my favorite album of theirs. So had a really fun time going to New York for that. And then next one we got here is Alkaline Trio. Where we have this on the front, the tour 2024 is what it says there, and we have like the X from their newest album. I'm blanking on the name. Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs. I remembered hair and I remembered eyeballs, but I was not remembering blood. Got a neat design on the back. Yeah, this is a solid show. So nice to know that after I made the Blink 182 video, when Tom rejoined the band, that Alkaline Trio could come back because they are very nice. Addicted to That Rush, that song slaps. Yes. Another song of Mr. Big's that just goes stupid hard is Colorado Bulldog and Daddy, Brother, Lover, Little Boy, which is the electric drill song where Paul Gilbert does the solo with the electric drill down there. Then next up here is Nita Strauss. One of the great guitar virtuosos out right now. She was playing over at the Palladium, and the cool thing here is after the show, she was hanging out at her merch table, and I got my ticket. I got her to sign my ticket, as well as the rest of her band to sign my ticket. It's hanging up over here on my autograph wall. So that was pretty excellent. I got a selfie with her too, which was sweet. Then we get a show that I mentioned in one of my recent videos, Dropkick Murphys. Finally, after 30 years of living in Massachusetts, I went to a St. Patrick's Day Dropkick Murphys show, and it was very fun. This shirt is really comfy also. And like I said in my most unexpected music source video, when they got to playing Tessie at that show, I just lit the fuck up. Then next, I always remember this taking place on the day that I uploaded the Motley Crue video. Strung Out. My second time seeing them. They were opening for let me get this up. They were opening for Less Than Jake, who I would say is my favorite ska band. And the other thing I remember about this show was how hard of a time it was finding parking, because the show was at the venue Big Night Live, uh, which is right next to TD Garden, and there was a Celtics game going on that night, so parking was intense. I missed like the first like 3 or 4 songs of Strung Out set. Um, but Less Than Jake's set was really fun. It was the anniversary of Hello Rockview. With cool yellow text on the back. And the next thing I hear, this is a weird one. Oh, um, Primus. Um, they were doing this tour with Perfect Circle and Pussifer, where they were basically just alternating between playing these mini sets, so there wasn't really any like headliner. It was just they were all the headliner there. It was really weird, and if we know anything about Maynard James Keenan, is that he is very opposed to phones and cameras at his shows. And I remember when I was trying to snap some videos of Primus's set, I had to be really inconspicuous because um because otherwise I would have gotten thrown out. That's how weird this was. But yeah, pretty solid design there with jellyfish. And this one I went to on my half birthday. Um, the Satch Vi tour. So obviously, whenever Joe Satriani does a tour, I need to go to it. And this is my second time seeing Steve Vai since 2016. And obviously the two of them are very good friends. Satriani, of course, taught guitar to Vai. So of course, that was like a big thing about this. So we got them together on here, and this pretty neat design on the back. The next, from later in the month of April, Seether. Been wanting to see them for a good bit. They were they were touring with Stained, and you know Stained did an okay job, but the main thing that was really just an eye-rolling moment was when Aaron Lewis was like, this one goes out to all the haters that never did anything in their lives, before playing their song Wannabe. Um, and I thought that was just really cringe. But other than that, not a bad time over at DCU Center. And the very next day was when I went back out to Worcester to see Trophy Eyes, with this on the back. This is a pretty fun show. It's just unfortunate that not too long after this was when I heard about John, the singer of Trophy Eyes, doing a stage dive and injuring a guy. It was very brutal. Hearing about that, it's like, damn. Like, there was some pretty hectic shit at this show too, but the opening bands at that show like handled it as well as they could have. Then got another band I've been really itching to see for a long time, that I was originally supposed to see in 2022, but it got canceled. But it got canceled because of, I think, visa issues. This band would be Architects. Um, And actually, the day before the Architects show was when I last saw Bayside, and the very next day after the Architects show was when I saw Bad Religion. Um, and both of those shows were like in the same vicinity. The Architects one was at House of Blues, and the Bad Religion one was at MGM Music Hall. And both those venues are both like across the street from each other. So I was staying at my brother's uh, overnight, and the day that I went to the Bad Religion show, that was when we filmed that part of the Most Unexpected Music Source video. Which, if you haven't seen that video, go check it out because I think it's a really fun one. And um, this one I remember taking place not too long after my Facebook got fucked. Um, this would be Lines in the Sky. If you don't know Lines in the Sky, they are a prog rock band that I got into through Become the Night. I believe it was his Bands That Prove That Rock Isn't Dead video that he featured Lines in the Sky in. They're a band that he is very good friends with. I remember when I went to this, I talked with the guitarist at the merch stand about Mike, which was interesting to do. Yeah, I like this one a lot. It's comfortable. Then another band I've seen before, but I haven't seen them headline. I wanted to see like a better set from them. It's another one of my like favorite bands in metal right now, Era. Much cooler design than the last one as well. Then another band that I was seeing for a second time, this being A Day to Remember, with that and this on the back. If I want to hear your feedback, I'll let you know. Uh, and This was very much an improvement over the last time that I saw A Day to Remember, because the last time they were playing too much from You're Welcome. Thankfully, they played very little from that album. It's like good. They also had 4 Years Strong and Story So Far opening, which was really fun. Want to know my feedback? That design is killer. Cool. Then this is not a band shirt that I have, but it's the next one that I received after that. It's a shirt of my brother's podcast, Play Tessie. Um, my mom gave me this shirt because since I was a groomsman at his wedding, um, uh, how many days ago was it? It was like the first weekend of this month. I decided to, bring this shirt with me as like, a nice gesture and whatnot. But that is that. Then, Invalids. Another band I was really wanting to see for a long time. If you don't know Invalids, they're just like I was, they're very similar to what I was saying about Tiny Moving Parts. They're a math rock band that by that default I consider them part of prog, and I always had and this is gonna sound really dumb, but Pete Davis, the vocalist and guitarist in Invalids, for a while I legitimately believed he invented the Wheedly Wheedly style guitar playing. And another thing Invalids are also known for is for, own making their own tabs available. And so they have tabs written on the shirt over here. Another show I went out to Somerville for, which was pretty crazy. Then after that, unfortunately, Space Metal isn't present right now because I know he's going to love this because it's a show I went to with him and a couple of friends of his. Metallica. My second time seeing Metallica since 2017, where I first met Space Metal in person. Like, I don't know what compelled him to do this, but he bought tickets for me and two of his friends to this show, which was like a 2-day thing where there was one show Friday and the other Sunday. And this was the design I liked best. I don't like it as much as the last one, but this is the one I got there. I mean, it's pretty cool, And both sets were very much an improvement over that 2017 one. Now, now, there were two sets of openers at both of these shows. The first one was Mammoth WVH, and since we were talking about them earlier in this, Pantera. Where the fuck is that? 2017 was when Space Metal, Alex, and I met for the first time too. Same goes for when I saw Metallica for the first time, along with Avenged Sevenfold. Avenged Sevenfold was supposed to play at the first one, but they weren't there. But Mammoth WVH and Pantera were playing at the first one. The second one was Ice Nine Kills and Five Finger Death Punch. But the shitty thing was there ended up being this massive thundering downpour that got Ice Nine Kills set cut and Five Finger Death Punch's set shortened, and Metallica's set delayed by like an hour. It was really fucked. I was not happy that Ice Nine Kills didn't get to go on. Silence the critics, it says on the back. And what's also shitty is Ice Nine Kills are coming to Worcester this month, but I'm already going to another concert the day they're over here. And it's like, damn, can't win with this. Then we get to a show that was mentioned earlier in here by Dexy Betrayal. Alice Cooper. Looking like a bit of a flower child over here. With this on the back. Too close for comfort. He was co-headlining with Rob Zombie. I wasn't expecting his set to be first before Rob Zombie's, but I enjoyed his set, even though I wish he could have played more from Constrictor, Trash, and maybe even Raise Your Fist and Yell. But yeah, he was the one I was mainly going for. I've seen Rob Zombie before, back when he was headlining Mayhem Fest in 2013, and his set was fun, definitely. And then we get to the most recent one, which was literally yesterday. The concert that I was out seeing. And this would be Dashboard Confessional. A bit outside of my ballpark, but they're, an emo band that almost kind of toes the line with pop punk and whatnot. And The back design is, of course, a lot cooler over here. But, I noticed when I put this shirt on, I was like, I look like such a Chad with this. Yeah, that's all the shit that I went to in the past year. And this Saturday, I'm actually going to be seeing Leprous, which I'm looking forward to. There it is. The other stuff um, I got on for this year is you blew it are doing some reunion shows. Then Nothing But Thieves, Opeth, Foxing, King Diamond on Halloween, which is gonna be fucking epic. Wasp, Trash Boat, Shadows Fall, and my first concert of 2025 is gonna be Miles Kennedy solo. So so doing more of getting another piece of the Alter Bridge puzzle off of my concert bucket list. Oh yeah, and God, I gotta remember to do this. Another thing I'm definitely going to be doing next year because I said I was going to do so in the Dream Theater video. Um, is their first tour with Portnoy is going to be next year, and I'm definitely getting a ticket for that because I want to see if their set, how different their set is compared to the two that I've seen when they had Mangini in the band. You had me at Wasp. Yep. I was originally supposed to see Wasp last year, but that ended up canceling because of Blackie Lawless getting some surgery. What's weird though about this show is that they're playing it at the Orpheum, which is where I've seen Satriani 3 times, and it's like this seems like a weird place for a band that isn't an instrumental guitarist to be playing at because it's seated unless they get rid of the seats for this. We'll have to see. It was only a matter of time before Portnoy would be pulled under. Pulled under? There's no under for this. At least my throat isn't feeling as shitty anymore. Now it's just a matter of my nose feeling clogged and uh my breath feeling a little limited. But yeah, I feel like I've had way too many colds this year that have just passed through. Well, he's no longer afraid. That's good. That's good because he doesn't deserve to feel afraid. bro, you get more colds than me. Like, I feel like I spent all of August waking up with my throat feeling kind of sore. It was not very pleasant, but, it subsided, and then another one just kind of comes in its place. And this always happens around this time of year, like around the changing of the seasons. Like the same thing happened a year ago where where September rolls around and it just goes through that cold phase. It's usually like a week long process. Foos have a festival there headlining in a couple of weeks. Wonder how the vibe will be. It's a good question. I don't expect people to boo him. Oh, yeah, and isn't these are like some of their first shows that they're doing with Josh Freese playing drums with them now. Better a cold than this lower back pain I've been dealing with for the past couple of months. Uh, dude, I could barely breathe out my nose. Amazing my throat doesn't feel sore from all the talking I've been doing. Ugh, wow. Have you listened to the band Sparks yet? This month is a month dedicated to them. Yeah, I have actually. Not a whole lot. Um, like uh, I have like 4 of their albums over here in here. I think you might have shown me those a while back, perhaps. Um, I don't know. But in my iTunes over here, I have um, Wolfer and Tweeter's clothing, um, Kimono My House, Propaganda, and Indiscreet. I recommend Angst in My Pants. That's one of my favorites, besides Come Out of My House. And then there's Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violins. I own that on a burnt CD and a steady drip, drip, drip on vinyl. Cool. Ugh, excuse me. I need to complete that collection. Their newest album, called The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte, came out last year. Okay. Well, since the stream, I think, is, kind of, dying down, and we've been going for about 2 hours, think I'm gonna cut it here. Thank you to everyone that listened to the discussions and participated in the conversations. And take care and have a nice day. Hold on. My apologies not saying anything. Been doing Space Marine 2. Remember, folks, the Emperor protects. Oh, it's time for my daily chores. BRB. Yeah. So yeah, think now is probably a good time to cut the stream. So thank you for hanging out. Take care and have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.